So today we'll be talking about Java variables and operators. When you think about a variable, think of it as a container. It typically contains some type of data. It could range from a numeric value, like someone's age, or a string to hold someone's name. The thing inside of a variable is called a value. So in this case, this is the variable age, and the value is 24. And it's defined as an integer, and we'll go over all that in just a minute. So in this case, it's going to print age, which is defined as 24. And there you can see it printed out 24. Now with a variable, you can do lots of cool operators, basic math operators. So in this case, I'm turning 25 in a couple of months, so I will add age equals age plus 1 to find out how old I'll be. So there, you can see my birthday I'll be 25. But I'm curious, I want to know how old I was 10 years ago. So I'll subtract 10. And other than the addition and subtraction, you can also do multiplication, such as times 2. Or you can also divide it by 2. So those are some really basic operators. There are a whole bunch of different operators that you can do as well. So I'm going to erase this. So as I mentioned, I'll be turning 25 in a few months. So I'm going to just add a string here. You will turn, and then add the age. One of the operators that you can do is an increment operator. So I'm going to add plus plus to the prefix it to the age variable, and this is actually going to turn my age to 25. In addition to prefixing a variable, you can also postfix it, but you'll have a different output. By adding plus plus here, it's going to be adding an additional integer of 1 to this integer, but it's not going to post it yet. So if I rewrite this, you will turn, I'll just change the string around a little bit. You are 24 and will be turning age 25. So in this case, because it's adding the additional 1 after the fact, this one will be 25, but this variable will be 24. So there you can see you are 24 and will be turning 25. You can also do some other interesting assignment operators as well. So down here we have age equals 24, and if I do age times equals 2, it's going to print out 48. And if we just want to add 2, we can make that. Now, one thing to note with integers is you can easily add numbers together using the plus symbol, but it's not the same for strings. So if I define a string below, string name equals Patrick, if I add a plus sign, it's not going to add the strings together because that doesn't make sense. It's going to concatenate them. So if I say name plus Hankinson, actually I'll add a space in there too, and print that out here, it's actually going to print Patrick Hankinson. Now, if we actually change this string to 2 and 2, you may think that what we're going to see is 4, but it's not actually going to happen because this 2 is wrapped in quotes and is defined as a string, and this 2 is wrapped in quotes, which is also defined as a string. So that concludes the basic operators and a little bit of math with the integers. Let's look at all of the different types of variables that you can define. So I just copied and pasted a list of all the different variables that you can have. So you can have a double, a float, a long, an integer, a short, a byte, a char, a string, a boolean, and I'll explain all of them right now. So a double allows you to have a decimal in the numeric value. So here we can see the money in wallet is $24.50. And the amount a double can hold is defined here. Now, a float is a little bit different. It doesn't hold as much data as a double, but it still holds a decimal numeric value. But you may notice that it has an F here at the end. This is what tells the Java compiler that it's a float. If I got rid of the F, it's going to think that it's a double. Now, a long, int, short, and byte are all whole numbers. I can't add decimals to it. A long can hold a really, really large number, and an integer can hold a really large number as well, but not as much as a long. And it keeps going down. Bytes and shorts don't hold very much data at all. Now, char is actually a single character, so here I have it as my initial P, but if I added another character, it would also fail at compiling. And a string is just a string of text, so it can hold anything. I could write a whole novel in this string, but I'm not going to. And Boolean can either be true or false. So my Boolean is happy equals true. Now, if you have a keen eye, you may have noticed something interesting. The double, float, long, int, short, byte, char, and boolean are all blue, and string is yellow. That's because these are actually default Java keywords. String is actually an API class built into Java. So what we're actually doing here is we're actually telling the Java API that we are creating a new string called name, which has this value. This is also called a reference type. And we'll go over the string class in more detail in the following chapters. So just to give you an example, if we change one of these characters up here, let's say for the byte, since it can only hold a value of 127, I'll add 128 to see what happens when I compile it. So there, you can see it failed when it tried to compile. Now I'll just change that back. I'll just change it to 120. And if I try to add an extra character here, it's going to fail as well. So just be careful when you're creating your variables. You want to make sure that you've put some thought into it to know how much data it needs to hold. Because you obviously don't need to use a long for this much data if it could work inside of a byte.